I'm Kathryn Samson, and in the second in our series where we analyse what makes an outstanding piece of graphic design, we're going to look at Paul Rand's IBM poster from 1981. Born in Brooklyn in 1914, it's not an understatement to say that Paul Rand is a graphic design legend. Throughout his 60-year-long career, he changed visual communication. Rand's work had an avant-garde style, borrowed from European art movements such as Der Stil, Russian constructivism, and the famous German Bauhaus school of art. Rand was convinced that the strength of graphic design lies in its ability to be a universal language. He said about his work, "One quickly realizes that simplicity and geometry are the language of timelessness and universality." And I think you can really see that in these early works. From 1956 to 1991, Paul Rand worked for one of the largest corporations in North American history, IBM, first designing the 13-bar version of the logo on the right of the slide, which cleverly alludes to the company's business, technology. His work for IBM was at the very beginning of corporate visual identity history. Before, all visual media was conveyed through advertising, but companies quickly understood that to survive in this jungle of images, you had to stand out. So we come to the poster, IBM, what has become known as the rebus. Originally designed as a poster for an internal IBM design conference, it's a humorous reimagining of the logo. The I and B are so simple that there's an instant understanding of the double meaning of the images in the mind's eye. And it started out, as many of the best ideas do, as a sketch in watercolor and marker pen. You can almost imagine Rand smiling to himself as he colored in the stripes on the B. In his mind's eye, he would have been able to imagine exactly how the final poster would look. Notice how he specifies the Pantone colors. This was so the printer would know exactly what color ink to use to produce the lithograph. Yet, the presentation of the logo was met with criticism within the company, and almost 10 years would elapse before Rand was able to convince IBM to use it. The rebus would be reintroduced for internal and external materials and would become one of the most iconic designs of Rand's later work for IBM. IBM's design guidelines today specify how the rebus should be used, with the original color version only used for heritage applications. The color palette is restricted: black, white, and a range of mid-blues. There's also the ubiquitous page of improper use examples that I think would have had Mr. Rand spinning in his grave. He would undoubtedly have been happier, bearing in mind his love of visual art, for his work to be shown alongside other 20th century iconic pieces, at one of the inaugural exhibitions at the Museum of Modern Art when it reopened in its new Midtown Manhattan home in 2004.